Queen BIlQIS, was she a half jinn and half human? Or was she just 100% human but super powerful? Today we're going to talk about this mysterious queen who might have had special powers, but not everyone agrees. She's mentioned in the Quran, but we know much more about her through other sources, like the Sistani, which is a collection of traditions and stories about the Prophet Muhammad and the Hadith. Welcome to the channel. Queen BIlQIS is one of the most prominent female rulers in Islamic history, and her story has some amazing twists. Now, these sources tell us that BIlQIS was the queen of Sheba, an ancient kingdom in southern Arabia. It's also known as Saba. The story goes that BIlQIS was so wealthy and powerful that she owned everything from palaces made out of gold to talking birds that could deliver messages. Instead, it often symbolizes wealth, power, and elevated status. Now, some people took this hadith to mean that BIlQIS was a half jinn, half human. They say that since she was mentioned right after Solomon, who was known for his connection to the spiritual world and his ability to control the genies, it's likely that BIlQIS also had a link to the unseen world. The story goes that Solomon was once traveling when he came across a river that was too wide to cross. So he sat down on a stone to wait for someone to help him. And guess who showed up? BIlQIS. She offered him a magical ring that allowed him to talk to animals, including birds. See, when Solomon was building his grand mosque in Makkah, he sent BIlQIS to get some lumber. But that doesn't mean he forgot about BIlQIS. In fact, he kept her close and continued to value her friendship and advice. But when BIlQIS saw how beautiful the mosque was turning out to be, she decided to stay and help finish it. But what's not debatable is her legacy as a strong, intelligent, and independent woman who wasn't afraid to speak her mind. We hope you enjoyed learning about the fascinating story of Queen BIlQIS. If you did, please do, and forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you never miss out on our future videos. And if you want to keep exploring the world of Islam and learning more about its rich history and teachings, we've got plenty more videos on our channel just waiting for you, so why not take a look around and see what else you can discover. Until next time, stay curious, keep asking questions, and never stop learning. Thanks for watching. She wasn't just a pretty face or a side piece. She was a force to be reckoned with, and a true partner to Solomon. Solomon was so impressed with her dedication and hard work that he asked her father for her hand in marriage. But BIlQIS turned him down. She said that she could marry him because she was already married to her work and her people. Talk about commitment. Thanks to this new ability, Solomon was able to build an enormous army of birds that helped him expand his empire. Plus, the word large posterior was seen as a clue that she had something to do with genies. And he's believed to have had special powers. So when the Quran says that he was given a ring, it's probably not what you're thinking. A ring in this context doesn't just mean jewelry. It's actually a symbol of his prophetic status and powers. When Solomon put on the ring, it gave him the ability to understand and communicate with animals. This is a common theme in stories about prophets, especially those mentioned in the Quran. For example, in the story of Musa or Moses, he was given the staff that allowed him to perform miracles and talk to God. Similarly, Isa, who is Jesus in Arabic, was given the Book of Life, which represented his ability to forgive people's sins. After all, genies are known for their supernatural abilities and their connection to the earth, air, fire, and water. No, she taught him how to use it and guided him in becoming a great leader. In fact, the story says that she was in charge of Solomon's treasury, which meant that she managed all the wealth and resources of his empire. So BIlQIS was more than just a helper. She was a trusted advisor and partner to Solomon. The word large in Arabic can sometimes refer to something that's plump or rounded, which could be interpreted as a physical characteristic of genies. You see, in many cultures around the world, including ancient Arab cultures, the size of a woman's posterior was seen as an indicator of fertility and childbearing capabilities. Having a large posterior was considered desirable because it signified that the woman had the ability to bear many children, which was important for the continuation of the family line and the prosperity of the kingdom. In fact, the same description was used for another powerful woman named Sumaya, who was also praised for her wisdom and power. So if BIlQIS was also described as having a large posterior, it makes sense that she would be seen as a powerful and wealthy ruler, but that's not all. Some people believe that she wasn't just a regular old queen, but she was a half jinn and half human. So what exactly is a jinn? Well, they are supernatural creatures in Islamic belief, kind of like spirits or elementals. See, in Islamic tradition, the stars are believed to be inhabited by genies. There is no verse in the Quran that explicitly states that BIlQIS was half jinn and half human. This idea comes from interpretations of a single hadith, which itself is open to different understandings. It was possible that BIlQIS was indeed connected to the spiritual realm, and had powers that seemed supernatural to those around her. But attributing these powers solely to her jinn heritage is just one way of looking at it. Other scholars suggest that her abilities might have come from God directly or through other means. So if BIlQIS's eyes look like the stars, then maybe she had some jinn blood in her too. They're made of smokeless fire, and they can't be seen by ordinary humans. In this particular hadith, he talks about how God showed him all the prophets, starting from Adam until the end of time. And the Prophet Muhammad saw 70,000 prophets, but 2 of them stood out. One was Solomon, who was famous for his wisdom and power. He's mentioned in many different religions, not just Islam. And the other was BIlQIS, who was described as having a large posterior, which means butt, and eyes that sparkled like stars. It's believed that jinns have their own kingdoms, and they can interact with humans, sometimes causing mischief or even trying to lead them astray. There are different types of genies. Some of them are good, like the one called Margulis, who could help people achieve their goals. But others like the Sikhs are tricksy and love playing pranks. And then there are the shaitans, who are known for causing harm and tempting people to do bad things. So let's get back to BIlQIS. The idea that she was part jinn comes from a hadith, which is a saying attributed to the Prophet Muhammad. Now, it's important to remember that in Islamic tradition, when someone is described as having a large posterior, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were overly sexualized. But back to the story. After seeing these 2 prophets, it's said that God told the Prophet Muhammad that both Solomon and BIlQIS were given special powers. But wait, there's more. People also pointed to BIlQIS's eyes sparkling like stars as evidence that she had powers. Now, before we move on, we want to make something clear, and here's another interesting twist. In the Quran, BIlQIS is mentioned in the story of Solomon, who is also known as Suleiman in Arabic. Now, in Islamic tradition, Solomon isn't just a regular old king. He's considered a prophet, just like BIlQIS. So when BIlQIS met Solomon, she didn't just hand over the ring and let him figure it out on his own. There's even a story about how Solomon and BIlQIS almost got married. In the end, Solomon respected her decision, and he ended up marrying one of BIlQIS's maids instead. Now, whether or not BIlQIS was a half jinn and half human is still up for debate. But that's it for our video today.